heading down to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Gonna go visit Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Here we go. Our new Scamp is in production and will be ready in the upcoming weeks. Great Smoky Mountain National Park is one of our favorite destinations, and I can't think of a better place for our last trip with Fanny. The drive's not that long for us, but we decided to split it up into 2 days, leaving on a Friday night in order to arrive early on a Saturday. We grabbed dinner at Cracker Barrel near Blacksburg, and I gotta hand it to them. These days they have some of the best value going for their food. We could have stayed at the Cracker Barrel, but we decided to go down the road a little bit and stay at a Love's for the evening. We do like staying at the truck stops whenever possible because we appreciate having access to the facilities all night long. One thing I learned on this trip is that some Loves are actually adding RV hookups, which is pretty cool. They call them Loves RV stops, and currently there are about 20. It's nice to have as many options as possible. And here we've arrived in Tennessee, the volunteer state. If you're going to be spending a lot of time in Gatlinburg or Sevierville or Pigeon Forge, it's good to pick up some of these brochures to get an idea of some of the things to do and also get some coupons. And here's something that I've never seen. They have Keurigs that you can buy and brew, and also they have a cold cooler and a microwave so you can buy and warm up some hot food. I think they should have that at every welcome center. Hell, they should probably have it at every rest stop, period. If you're coming to the northern part of Great Smoky Mountain National Park, chances are you're going to come via the I-40. Here we are getting off at the exit in Sevierville. And to the left here you'll see where they're building a new Buc-ee's here in Sevierville. It's my understanding that when it opens it will, at least temporarily, be the largest Buc-ee's in the world. Current plans are for that to open up in the summer of 2023. Dollywood Amusement Park is a popular attraction in Pigeon Forge, although one we've never visited. And off to the right there is a mountain coaster. There's a few of these in the area and they're pretty cool rides. We are arrived at our home for the next few days, the Pigeon Forge Gatlinburg KOA holiday. Checking in was easy. They're very organized and helpful. We're being escorted to our site here. We arrived just after 12 on a Saturday. Check-in is at 12, so we did time that up pretty well. The place was pretty full when we showed up, but by the end of the day it was full and it stayed that way throughout the weekend. Now this KOA is located on a main road. I'd suggest when choosing your spot, pick one towards the back. You wouldn't want to be towards the front on that road. The camp store has all the essential gear you need, firewood, ice, stuff like that, and also gifts. Laundry is nearby the store. The pool is directly across from the store. We thought it was heated, but it turned out not to be, but they do have a lazy river and hot tub, so there's nice features. There are plenty of playground and other type activities for kids. There's basketball hoops. And I must say this is a very pet-friendly campground. There are plenty of areas throughout for the pets to play and do their thing. As with most KOA holidays, there are cabins that you can rent. Now this particular KOA, I gotta give them credit because it looks as though they have a lot of cool events. In this particular pavilion, while we were there, they had a tie-dye activity where you could buy a white KOA t-shirt and tie-dye it. Now we didn't partake because I didn't check the calendar of events soon enough, but it looked like a lot of fun. And right there is the bathhouse located near our campsite, not far at all. The showers are private and very well maintained, always clean. As I've mentioned, this is a very pet-friendly RV park, and they have a pet wash station, and that's something I don't see that often. The bathrooms are located across from the pet wash station on the opposite side of the bathhouse. Like the showers, they stayed clean throughout our stay. The campground did stay full throughout the weekend, but here's a view of what it looked like on Monday. The place really cleared out, so if you want to come and stay when there's less people, I'd recommend coming during the week. Now our standard site came with a basic fire ring, of course had a picnic table and a grill as well. The campground actually butts right up upon the Pigeon River, which you can access and walk along or wade in. And here I'm showing you a few different options for campsites. Here's one with a different type of table and came with a chimney as well. And this type of site here again has a different kind of table and seating. This one comes with a deeper fire ring as well. And this here is probably the fanciest or nicest type of campsite. You might even call it deluxe. It's got this rock bar with seats, and on the back side there's a bench and a nice fire ring. You got this pergola type gazebo with your nice table and chairs below it, and then behind it you got this rocker type deal here. Alright, so after getting camp set up, we're ready to pack up and go ahead into the park. There's plenty to do in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, but we only have a few days here, so we decided on this trip to focus mainly on park activities. So the campsite's kind of located towards the southern end of Pigeon Forge, so it's a great place to access not only Pigeon Forge, but also Gatlinburg and the park itself. Very convenient. Gatlinburg Welcome Center doesn't really have much in terms of exhibits, but they do have a nice gift store and you can get information there. Also, there's a National Park Passport stamp, so if you hit that up and you collect stamps, you might as well grab one while you're there. Great Smoky Mountain is the most visited of all the national parks. I think that's because of where it's located. It's within a day's drive of many major U.S. cities on the East Coast, and also the general lack of national parks on the East Coast makes this more visited, I think. There is no entrance fee to the park, although I've heard that there is plans to institute some fee for parking, although in the fall of 2022 this has not been instituted yet. The first thing we decided to do in the park is the hike to Laurel Falls. This is a popular hike, and it's recommended that you get there early. The parking lot is small and was full when we got there, so we had to walk a little bit. The distance is 1.3 miles from the trailhead to Laurel Falls. The Laurel Falls Trail is classified as easy. There is some elevation gain, although it's not great. It is pretty much continual on the entire way out to the falls. The first 2/3 of the hike you're mainly walking through a forested area, but after about 2/3 in you reach this point where you get a pretty good overlook. As you approach the falls, there's sort of a steep drop off towards the side of the trail, and there's a sign warning you about it. The trail is wide, so it's not really something to be worried about, although I don't think I'd be pulling a stroller up it backwards. So this is one of the most popular hikes in the park, so you can expect there to be a crowd. When we showed up, there was actually a photo shoot going on. I'm always fascinated to watch waterfalls and think about how they develop the particular path that they take. I can understand why this hike is as popular as it is. Next up, we're checking out the Sugerlands Visitor Center. Pretty much each of the visitor centers within the park have their own unique passport stamp that you can collect. This one also has a gift shop as well, and rangers are available to provide you with information. The exhibits here in this visitor center showcase some of the wildlife and animals and plants that you may encounter during your visit within the park. The 441 or Newfound Gap Road more or less connects the park from the north to the south, with the Gatlinburg entrance at the north connecting to the Cherokee entrance towards the south. The distance between the two is about 30 miles. The Oconaluftee Visitor Center is located near the southern entrance at Cherokee, North Carolina. When we arrived, it was just in time for a ranger talk about the elk. The elk were reintroduced to the area about 20 years ago, and it's in this region where you can see them. This visitor center and area is all about the history, primarily focusing on the early white settlers in the area. Adjacent to the visitor center is the Mountain Farm Museum and Oconaluftee River Trail. The river trail is about 3 miles round trip and pretty much flat. The Mountain Farm Museum is a collection of several log buildings from various places around the park that were relocated to this area for the purpose of depicting a typical mountain farm in pioneer Appalachia. One of the things that I love about Great Smoky Mountain National Park is that it truly is a blend of not only natural beauty and wildlife, but also history. Alright, so that was the Oconaluftee Visitor Center. I think that's how you say that, Oconaluftee, which is near the Cherokee entrance. Pretty good visitor center. The Mountain Farm Museum was really cool. Now, we sort of made a beeline down here without stopping. Now, on the way back, there's a number of cool things that we missed we're going to stop and check out. So, let's go do that. After leaving the Farm Museum, we decided to go check out Mingus Mill. Now, Mingus Mill is unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's different from a regular water mill in that water is actually diverted underneath the building where it turns turbines which are connected to the grindstones located above it within the building. Now, this type of turbine-powered mill was more efficient than your typical water wheel, requiring less water to operate. Camping within the park is pretty popular. A lot of people like to do backcountry, but there are also 10 campgrounds within the park. So that's pretty cool. We just did a quick drive-by of the Smokemont campground, I think it's called, and that's on the southern end towards the Cherokee entrance, just kind of scoping it out for future visits. We like to do that whenever we're in parks, check out the campgrounds, and we spotted two scamps out in the wild, so that's pretty cool. And a casita there as well. Always love encountering scamps unexpectedly, so that's pretty sweet. After checking out the campgrounds, we actually spotted 3 elk within the woods as we were driving. Unfortunately, I didn't get great pictures or footage, but we did get to see them, so that was cool. We were actually kind of lucky because you're more likely to see them either right after sunrise or right before sunset. As we traveled north on the Newfound Gap Road, the clouds became thicker. Along that drive is the road to Clingman's Dome, which is the tallest peak in the park and in the state of Tennessee. We have seen it before and it's a great view, but it's a short drive, and with the clouds being what they were, it'd be kind of pointless to do on this particular day. We did stop at the Newfound Gap, which typically offers great views, but again, with the clouds, it's kind of pointless, but it's right off the road, so we figured why not. Alright, well, that's the luck of the draw. Some days you get the view, and some days you get the clouds. Yeah, of course today, obviously, we got the clouds, which kind of sucks because we drove by earlier and the view was like perfect, but, it happens. We've been here before, and we'll be here again, so no worries. So I did some research, and it turns out that honking your horn in tunnels in Tennessee is kind of a thing. No one really has any good reason why it's done. I think it's just something that people do just because. there down below is Gatlinburg. The next thing we're going to check out is one of the most popular attractions in the park, which is Cades Cove. Now you can get to Cades Cove by taking roads through the park, but we decided to take an alternate route that would take us through Wares Valley and bring us to the Townsend entrance. And the reason is because we'd never driven through Wares Valley, which is where we are right now, and it had some cool sights that we were glad to see. And also we'd never been to Townsend, so we figured we'd head this way in order to check that out as well. Nearby Townsend flows the Little River, so we decided to park and walk over and check that out. Rafting and tubing in this area is a pretty popular activity. I think River Rat is one of the more popular tubing places. It wasn't something we've done before or on this trip, but it's something we think we might do in the future. There is a KOA in Townsend, so if you're looking for something more low-key than Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, but with still good access to the park, that might be a good way to go. We just entered into Cades Cove, which is a very popular part of the park. It's an 11-mile scenic drive, one-way loop. It's got a lot of historical sites. And it's also known for wildlife viewing. There's a lot of good animal sightings in this area. We stopped on the way and we picked up this tour book here. You know, gives you some information about the various stops along the way. It was only $1. I think definitely worth the $1. But yeah, here we are at Cades Cove. Cades Cove gives you a different perspective from the rest of the park. Whereas most other places in the park, you're at a higher elevation looking down enjoying these expansive views. Cades Cove, you're actually there within the valley. Cades Cove was home to many early settlers. In addition to potential wildlife viewings and beautiful scenery, the history which is preserved in Cades Cove is one of the main reasons that it's a popular destination. There are signs telling people that there are consequences if people choose to write or carve their names into any of the buildings. Sad that they have to put that up there, but, you know, guess they had to. Even though it's only an 11-mile loop, they recommend allowing at least 2 to 4 hours to visit Cades Cove. Even longer if you plan on doing some hike while in there. There are several reasons for this. One is that there's a lot of stuff to see. Also, wildlife spotting will cause people to stop and park and sit and watch the animals. The Black Bar is the most famous resident in the park, and it's a bar setting that's most likely to result in these type of traffic jams, often called bar jams. Now, I've been to Cades Cove on clear, sunny, blue days, and it's very beautiful. But there's something to be said to see in this type of scenery as well with the cloud cover. The park's really living up to its name. Now we're coming up on what's called the Cable Mill Historic Area, which does have a visitor center with Scamp. You definitely want to heed the warning about snakes around these buildings. Now, I did not encounter any, but I could totally see how it would be a spot where you would see a snake, so be careful. It had been threatening rain for a while, but it was at this point that it really did let loose upon us. Definitely would not be surprised to find a snake chilling in there.
Welcome to the John Cable Grist Mill. So this is the grist mill constructed by John Cable in 1870. This is where folks came back in the day to get their wheat ground into flour, their corn ground into cornmeal, like we're doing in here today. They could also do grits and livestock grains here as well. So the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, restored this mill in the 1930s. So most of what you see in here is around 85 years old. However, we do still use the original cornstones from the 1870 mill, so they have been in use for a little over 150 years. The water wheel outside is what provides us with all of our power. It specifically is what's powering the top millstone in here. This large wooden piece called the collar is where both of the millstones are housed. They're each about this big, that thick, and weigh about 2,000 pounds apiece. So they were made in pairs because you needed a top and a bottom. The bottom one is mounted to remain stationary, and the top one is the one that rotates and does all of the grinding. So the top stone is the one powered by the water wheel. The water wheel connects up to the top stone through these gears beneath the floor here. You have 6 gears that get progressively smaller as they work their way up to the stone. The first one is almost the size of the water wheel itself, and the final one here is only about 2 feet wide. So by stepping down the size of each gear, they're stepping up the speed of rotation, so that for one turn of the water wheel, you'll get about 35 rotations on the millstone. So once that's up and running, we load the corn into the top hopper. That funnels down into this piece here called the shoe. The shoe is adjustable up or down with this cord here to allow more or less corn to fall in at a time. Basically, the slower the corn falls in, the finer the final product is going to come out in the end. The piece here rotating in the center up against the shoe is called the damsel. So the damsel is rotating because it's mounted to the center of the top millstone. The top millstone has a hole in the middle with a steel cross beam. The damsel fits on that beam so that as the top stone rotates, the damsel is rotating in tandem. It is angular. They were usually either made as hexagons or octagons. This one in particular is a hexagon. And so as it spins, its corners knock against the shoe, causing it to vibrate slightly, and this shakes out the corn just a little bit at a time. As the corn falls out of the shoe, it falls down through that hole in the top millstone where it gets trapped between the top and bottom. There it gets ground finer and finer, and as new corn falls in, it pushes the finest stuff to the outer edge where it falls out as cornmeal. Almost flour consistency. That's because my millstones are very, very close together. We can use this wheel here to crank the top stone away from the bottom stone. The further apart they are, the grittier your final product is going to come out. So by adjusting your spacing here, this mill can do everything from flour to cornmeal to grits up to cracked corn for chicken feed.
At this point I got excited because I thought this was going to be a bar jam and we'd get a chance to see some bars. Turns out people were just stopping and watching some deer. Now don't get me wrong, I like deer, but I don't think I'd hold up traffic for it. For the remainder of our drive through Cades Cove, we enjoyed the scenery and the buildings from the car. It's not that we had become disinterested, we were just tired of being soaked. And I'll apologize for some of the quality in these videos and there's water on the camera. I didn't realize that was happening, but I have no idea why. It was pouring. I should have known. After finishing Cades Cove, we decided to try something different and do this Rich Mountain Road, which we had never done before. Rich Mountain Road is a one-way 7-mile journey on a twisting gravel road that leads north out of Cades Cove and ends in the town of Townsend. Now mind you, this drive may be a little bit nicer and pleasant and give you better things to see if it's not cloudy and raining, but in that same breath, given that it's dry while still enabling you to somehow enjoy the feeling of being outdoors, it's kind of a good thing to do on a rainy day. When you come out on the other side, you'll see residential homes and cabins for rent, and the road turns into pavement and two-way traffic resumes. Since the rain was continuing, we decided to stay in the car, and next up we would do the Roaring Fork Motor Trail. The motor trail is accessed from within Gatlinburg. On the left is the popular hillbilly golf, which is a lot of fun. You ride on an incline rail up to the top and play mini golf down the side of a hill. And there's Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies. Now Dawn and I love a good aquarium, and let me tell you, this is a really good one. If you like aquariums and you're in Gatlinburg, I would consider that a must-do. Now a lot of people consider Gatlinburg to be kind of touristy or even like a tourist trap, and maybe it is, but I don't know why that's a bad thing automatically. I think a lot of the stuff here to do is a lot of fun, especially for families. Man, move on. The Roaring Forks Motor Trail is another one-way loop road. This one is about 5.5 miles long. The first part of it's mainly just a standard drive through the forest, and it's nice. It's a good place for spotting wildlife, and we have seen bars here, although we did not on this particular trip. Another very popular hike is out to Laurel Falls. Here's the parking area, and there's the trailhead. Now, being that it's rainy, it's not even something we're thinking about doing, but it's on my one of these days list, as it's supposed to be really cool. When you walk out there, you actually can walk back behind the waterfall. That's something I think I want to see eventually. Now the back half of this drive gets a little bit more interesting. There's a lot more streams and water and cool stuff to see, frankly. Now we've done this a few times, but this was the best one so far, by far, and I think that's owing to the rain, so a rainy day might be the best time to do this drive. This is what I'm talking about. In the past, this cascade has barely been a trickle, but today it's quite impressive. Definitely, if you get a rainy day in Gatlinburg, think about doing this drive. This trip marks the end of an era, as it's the last trip that we'll be taking with our Scamp Fanny. This Scamp's been great for us. I've learned a lot since we've had it. I've gotten a lot more comfortable traveling with the trailer. We figured out what options we need and don't need. We couldn't have picked a better Scamp to get our feet wet. And here we go, embarking on our last long drive with Fanny. Thank you guys for watching, and do think about subscribing and stay tuned because there's a lot more coming. We will be picking up our new Scamp in the upcoming weeks. I will be putting out videos soon detailing the process once the new Scamp on order goes into production. I'll also be talking about the options that we decided to go with, and also those we decided we did not need. Additionally, I'll be documenting our journey to go pick up our new Scamp in Bacchus, Minnesota, and also document our inaugural trip with her. If you liked it at all, do give me that thumbs up and stick around for our future travels, of which there will be plenty, because Scamps like us were born to camp. Alright guys, later.